These UFOs are out here, man, and I want to find them.
Perhaps no one spends as much time on skyward mysteries as Jeff Woolwine.
But when these lights come on, it's like somebody with a switch on a wall. Boop. Here we are.
Woolwine's tours are free too, and you're free to believe or not.
Jeff Woolwine, the first person to do this. I think he's as honest as the day is long.
He describes his guests as top-notch, credible, and says Woolwine is one of the good guys.
Whether you believe in UFOs or not, there is something here. And they were here a long time ago. And their sightings is recorded on the mountain.
Welcome back to another Petroglyphs in the Sky Ultimate UFO Show. I am your host, Jeff Woolwine. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. The Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky YouTube page. And so thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We have a great episode. And this is a special episode. We are going to discuss the Anunnaki. And we're going to be talking about some of these ancient texts that probably is new to a lot of people, but I feel that it could be relevant to what we see in the skies today, these UFOs. And so, yeah, we are going to be talking about that. And so it's going to be a great show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And so, yeah, let's get to it. Let's get to the announcements. All right. Okay, first of all, I want to say a big shout out, a big thank you to Jennifer Battershill. I hope I'm saying your last name correctly. And so, yeah, thank you so much for the kind words on your YouTube video about the show, about my work. And I just want to give a great shout out to you. Thank you so much for sponsoring me and believing in my work. And yes, it's very possible that you and I are seeing the same things. And so, yeah, thank you so much, Jennifer, for tuning in and for saying such kind words about the show and everything. You rock. And make sure everybody goes and checks out Jennifer Battershill. Okay, find her on Facebook, and I believe she's on that YouTube channel also. So yeah, thank you so much, Jennifer, and I really appreciate everything. I appreciate you and your hard work, and you're awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, all right, so I have another show, another YouTube channel, Haunted Encounter Adventures. Make sure you check that out. We have been going around, I guess, for the past year or so, investigating haunted places. And so, yeah, if you're into the paranormal or ghosts and things like that, and just neat stuff, you know, check out my YouTube channel, Haunted Encounter Adventures. Please subscribe to that channel, and yeah, stay up to date with all the all the ghost adventures that we do on that page. Thank you so much. Okay, here we go. The Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix, Volume 1. Written by yours truly, 15 years in the making. This goes into the history of Phoenix, Arizona. Not the history that you know today, not what the archaeologist wants you to believe, not what the textbooks in your high schools and college and stuff like that want you to believe. Certainly not what the most of the park rangers out there in Phoenix wants you to believe. This is true stuff. This is stuff that has been buried for the last 80 years, and it explains on what these Phoenix Lights is. Those of you who know me, I'm a resident here in Phoenix, born and raised, and I've been seeing these I've been seeing these, boy, tongue-tied. I've been seeing these UFOs in the sky ever since I was a kid. So I was brought up on these things. And I remember, playing catch football with my dad and seeing his orb in the sky, and or seeing a light in the sky, and going to my my 5th grade class, and one of my good friends was an Indian boy, and I asked him, I was like, dude, did you see that light last night? And he goes, yeah, my grandfather says that these UFOs, these lights live in the mountains over there. And he points on the west side of Phoenix, Arizona, to a mountain called the White Tank Mountains. And, just a kid, you're like, wow, okay, that's cool. So you blow it off. But then later on, when you're studying these things and you're seeing these things, and then you find out the myths and the stories and everything else that involves Phoenix, Arizona, you come to realize that, yeah, these beings, these entities, these UFOs, these UAPs, if you will, actually come and go from these mountains around Phoenix, Arizona. And it has everything to do with the fault lines. It has everything to do with the energy within the fault lines and tracking of the sun when it follows the seasons. Yeah, so all this information can be found in my book. Tons of photographs. This is not hearsay. This is 15 to 17 years research into the Phoenix Lights. I don't think anybody else has ever done this much work into finding out exactly what these Phoenix Lights really is. I live by South Mountain. That is South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona, is the heart, is the key to where these creatures, these UFO entities come and go from. I sat by that mountain for a number of years. I watched these things come and go from that mountain. I went out there and I hiked the mountain for, oh my God, 15 years. I was on that mountain, hiking, exploring, finding the petroglyphs. I ended up calling down a Native American shaman who works at one of the Native American Indian art museums in downtown Phoenix, and to teach me about the petroglyphs on South Mountain and about the petroglyphs around the Valley of the Sun. And he was going into doorways and spirals and spirits of the earth and sky and just crazy stuff, right? Until I actually realized this stuff, it's not a legend, it's not a myth, that this stuff is actually true. This stuff that is a part of Phoenix, Arizona's past is what we're seeing in the skies today. So the Phoenix Lights isn't anything new. This has been going on for 1,000 years. Right, and in today's show, we could put an approximate date on when these things everything started to occur. So that's later on in the show today. And so yeah, and also not only did I hike the mountain, I found the tombs up there. I found evidence of the Mayans. I found evidence of the sacrificing altars out there in Phoenix, Arizona, on the mountain, on South Mountain. And not only did I go to the downtown Phoenix Library, and I dug up the history on South Mountain, and lo and behold, there's a folder, and it talks about the first park ranger, Charles Holberg. Okay, in the 1930s to the late 40s. And he talks about the gold tombs out there. He talks about protecting the gold tombs left by the Mayans. He even goes as far as to say that Phoenix, Arizona was once part of the 7 cities of gold, the 7 cities of Cibola. Now, we're going to go into that a little bit later on in the show. 7 has a lot to do with stuff. Why 7? I think in today's episode, we might get an idea why 7 is so magical, so holy, so significant. But yeah, 7 cities of gold. Now, why would the first park ranger of Phoenix, Arizona, a very well-known man, a very looked-up man, a very respected man, not only here in Phoenix, all right, not just Phoenix, but California, Utah, New Mexico. I mean, this guy was very popular in the park ranger field. So he's just not some Joe Blow. All right, this guy was very knowledgeable. This guy was very looked up to. All right, now his records say that the Mayans were here along with the Hohokam Indians, and he even goes as far as tell us how the Hohokams disappeared. Because the archaeologist wants us to believe, well, they simply migrated somewhere else. Well, if they did that, then where the hell did they go? We can't find any evidence on where these people went. They lived here for 1,000 years, and then all of a sudden they disappeared. Archaeologist says they migrated somewhere else. But the legends and the myths and the stories that we hear from not only today's Native American, but also from the Native Americans in Holberg's time, and also what's carved on the rocks, tell a completely different story. So these people did not leave, but they were part of the Phoenix Lights. These Phoenix Lights and these other creatures, these other UFOs that we see in the skies today, interacted with these Indians here in Phoenix, Arizona. Not only here in the Valley of the Sun, but all over the world. So it's interesting too, because we have one civilization race who was masters of their land for 1,000 years, and all of a sudden they disappeared. At the same time that other races around the globe, other tribal Indians, tribal man around the world disappeared all at the same time. So it just didn't happen in Phoenix. It happened all over the world. And so this book right here goes into the history of Phoenix, Arizona, has a lot of photographs in it, and it talks about how to understand the petroglyphs. And yeah, so it's a great book. It's a neat read. I get complimented every day on this book. So yeah, go out there and check out this book, The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. And you can find it on Barnes & Noble. You can find it on ebooks. You can find it on eBay, things like that. And by the way, I don't make any money from this. I never have. So I do not collect one dime off of these books. I told the publishers to give my portions of the proceeds to the foster kids here in Phoenix, Arizona. So I'm not seeing any money on this stuff. It's not about money. It's about getting this true information to you. This is hardcore facts. This is not hearsay. This is not somebody coming in from another state trying to make you believe something that hasn't been proven. No, I'm a native here in Phoenix, Arizona. I was born and raised. I've been seeing these things ever since I was a kid, forever. I was brought up on these UFOs. I explored these UFOs. I explored the history of Phoenix, Arizona, and I believe I have the proven facts. I don't think a lot of these other skywatchers out here or a lot of these other, ufologists can actually, back up what they say. But I can back up everything that I say, not only in my books, but all the cable shows I've done, the radio shows that I've done. All my research has gone into this book, and right now, me and you talking. So yeah, check it out. The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits. All right. Thank you guys so much. Okay, here we go again. Vulture City Mines. Vulture City Paracon Part 2. Here we go. This is coming up real fast, you guys. Up here in Wickenburg, Wickenburg, Arizona. We're having the Vulture City Paracon Part 2, October 8th, 9th, and 10th of this year, ladies and gentlemen, 2021. And we're going to go out there and we're going to do ghost hunts. And we're going to do the first time ever out here in this event. I was there at the Paracon 1. Now, this is Paracon 2. And not only will I be speaking there, will I be doing a lecture there, but also we're going to do a UFO sky watching event out there. First time ever on this land. Jane Marie Yates, the sponsors, of this event, Jay's constantly telling me, look, he's seeing UFOs in the sky. He's seeing lights in the sky. And, I did a little bit of homework on Vulture City and Wickenburg, and lo and behold, yes, there's a fault line. There's a ley line going right through that area. So no wonder that these UFOs, these entities is attracted to this area is because of the energy. Now, October, the sun is going to be in the right position, and it's going to open up these doorways. So yes, we have a very good chance of seeing these UFOs firsthand out there in Wickenburg, Arizona. So come on out here, Vulture City Paracon Part 2, Wickenburg, Arizona, October 8th, 9th, and 10th, 2021. It's going to be a great event. I'll be speaking out there. Come on over. Let's do a meet and greet. Let's, bring your books. I'll be doing autographs out there. Let's do a skywatch. Let's do a ghost hunt. Make sure you get your tickets fast, because I believe the VIP tickets has already been sold out. All right, so make sure you get the rest of the tickets. They're going quick. Make sure you get them now. Contact Jay and Marie Yates on Facebook, or contact Vulture City on the internet and get your tickets in advance. So October, look at all the people that are going to be there speaking, man. It's going to be a great event. And bring your money too, man, because there's going to be a lot of vendors out there. I love shopping. I love going out there and seeing all the stuff that everybody's selling, and picking up some souvenirs from Vulture City. And oh my God, just come on out here. It's going to be a great time. Vulture City Paracon Part 2. Ladies and gentlemen, oh my, yeah, coming at you live. All right. Okay, let's get into this. Let's talk about this. So, look at this here. Anunnaki. Who are the Anunnaki, right? I think it's interesting too, because for one, I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is interesting here. See, we have these wings. All right, so when I studied the Anunnaki tablets, in no shape or form, or even in the petroglyphs around Phoenix, Arizona, I don't ever see anything on crafts. I don't see any evidence of spaceships. It doesn't even, in the Anunnaki text and the tablets, it doesn't talk about spaceships, mankind, people trying to translate and just think, well, because it says that some left and some stay behind. Well, when they left, people are assuming that they left in spaceships, but it doesn't say that at all. It just says some left and some stay behind. Okay, and if they had wings, look at this. If they had wings, then why would they need a spaceship? Okay, they could just fly off, right? And a lot of these artists, in my opinion, in studying art and studying archaeology and studying the petroglyphs around Phoenix, Arizona, and seeing these beings firsthand, when an artist is trying to show something, when he's trying to make the viewer understand what he's trying to say, he puts in symbols. For instance, when we look at a painting of Jesus, we see that halo above his head. So we automatically know that he's a holy man, because the artist wants you to know that this is a holy man. This is Jesus, right? Because he's got a halo over his head. And if we want to depict something flying, not only will we just paint it in the sky, but if this being was walking, but he also flies, not only can he walk on the ground, but he can fly, I would put in wings. I mean, even though this person, like say this person can fly, right? But if you just put this person walking, it doesn't, your mind is saying, well, he's just walking on the ground, or he's just walking, in the sky. But because you put wings in there, the artist put wings in there, means that this being can fly. And we know from the Native Americans, we know from watching these things firsthand, seeing it from our own eyes, we know that these things are shapeshifters. Okay? These things are shapeshifters. They change shape. They like the shape of serpents and man and animals and snakes and stuff like that, and worms, right? So they're shapeshifters. And the Native Americans have been saying this forever, dude. Yeah, the shapeshifters, And they change color. And there's a lot of petroglyphs out there in Phoenix, Arizona, especially on South Mountain, where it's depicting a half man, half serpent. So this entity, this creature, this Quetzalcoatl flying serpent, feathered serpent, is morphing. He's morphing. There's a lot of symbols out there on South Mountain. The archaeologist likes to call them anthropomorphs because they're shape-shifting. They're changing shape. Even though the archaeologist doesn't want to believe these things are real, he calls it like mythology or legend or spirits. That's what the Native Americans call them. They call them spirits. Spirits of the earth and sky. And they change shape. They like to look like people. One of the story on how the Hohokam Indians arrived here in Phoenix, Arizona, is that when they first got here, they didn't know how to live. So these beings came up out of the sand world. They came down from the sky, and they shape-shifted into people. Now, some say, because there's a lot of petroglyphs out there and a lot of interpretations on lizard people, right? Lizard people. And so the interpretation is the lizard people came up out of the sand world and they lost their tail to look like everyone else, right? And they taught these people the secret incantations, the secret ways, knowledge in which mankind was not meant to know or understand. This is secret stuff. This is taboo stuff. We are not meant to know about these things at all. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of Native Americans, when I talk to them, they don't want to talk about this because it's scary stuff. They know what happened to their ancestors. They've been taught ever since they were a kid, and their parents have been taught by their parents for generations. This has been going on what these sky beings really are. And we're going to go into that. You're going to understand more about this type of history, because I believe this is part of it. This is our history. All right, we see them in the skies now. We see the Phoenix Lights, and they're not spaceships. My past shows, we've already proven this. These are not crafts that we're dealing with. These are living beings, living light entity, living creatures. They shape shift. They come and go from the mountains. They go down into that mountain. Native Americans say they're going down into the underworld. On a scientific analysis, they're going down into those fault lines. They're absorbing the energy. And so, do I see any evidence that the Anunnaki left on a spaceship? No. I see them leaving. I see some staying and some leaving. But did they get into a spaceship? There's no evidence of that. That has yet to be proven. Spaceships, technology, little gray men living in people's closets, hasn't been proven yet. What has been proven is text like this from the Anunnaki that was written in at least 7,000 years ago. Some of these biblical texts actually talks about these beings in the sky and what they are. And these petroglyphs carved on the mountains, on sacred mountains, not every mountain, but only sacred mountains around the world. And they're photographs. They're prehistoric photographs of what the Indians were seeing, what the Indians were in relation with, were dealing with. And what happened? These beings came down. They taught these people the secret incantations, the secret ways, the secret knowledge. In return, the Native Americans treated these beings as gods. They performed sacrifice to them. I found so many altars on South Mountain. It's pathetic. Oriented towards the east. East is sacred. There they are. They're on the east side. Lots of tombs. Lots of gold tombs on South Mountain. By the way, they made South Mountain a government park. Why did they do that? Why didn't they make all these mountains, around Phoenix, government parks. Why did they pick on South Mountain? It's because there are tombs on South Mountain. They don't want you to dig up all this history. The history that I'm bringing forward to you now, the proven facts, the proven history on what the Phoenix Lights is, what Phoenix, Arizona came from. I mean, because they say, Phoenix is the fiery bird that rose out from the formal civilization, but they barely talk about this formal civilization. Why? Because that formal civilization consists of giants and these beings from the sky and from the underworld and demonic creatures, monsters, if you will. And that's what I think we are dealing with here. There are some good, there are some bad, and we're going to go over that here in today's show. There's a lot of reference in some of these ancient texts, especially you can find it in the Bible and things like that, and it talks about these things. There's even one text, I can't remember right now, one passage where this guy, he's sleeping up against a tree, right? And this man comes down and he's got wings, just like portraying an Anunnaki. And I think, what is it, Ezekiel? I mean, look at Ezekiel, right? I mean, look at all the evidence here. Look at the stuff that we read, and it explains on what these things are. I'm not trying to put religion on you. The religion has nothing to do with what we're seeing in the skies. Has nothing to do with the Phoenix Lights. Has nothing to do with these orbs. Religion is man-made. We don't want to look at religion. We want to look at these texts as a history, as history scrolls of the earth, of the world. And when you take that in consideration, when you get rid of religion, and we look and take for face value what these scrolls and Native American art and their ceremonies and other things that we read, from like the Anunnaki and stuff like that, it tells you what these things are. And it's scary stuff. That's why I don't believe that there will ever be a disclaimer or the government's going to tell us what these things are. No, they're not going to say that. Why? Because of their history. Because of these beings' history. It's a scary thing. And, I went into this thinking, oh my God, aliens and spaceships, and they're going to help us, and they're going to cure cancer, and they're going to save the world. I went into this thinking that when I started doing my investigations in 2004. Serious investigations, because everywhere I went, I was seeing these things in the sky. So I wanted to find out for my own self. I wasn't going to just read a book from somebody else with no evidence, no proof. I'm not going to take anybody's cable shows that they're trying to push on me on what these things are. I wanted to experience it. I wanted to experience this myself. I wanted to go out and find out what was going on. I'm not going to believe nobody else. I'm going to believe what I see. I'm going to believe what I find. I'm going to believe what I have dug up. I'm going to believe, what I can prove, what I can verify. I'm not going to believe somebody else will hear saying bullshit. I'm going to go out there and do this investigation myself. I'm an amateur archaeologist. I've been an archaeologist ever since I was way before I was a ufologist. So that's what brought me into all this. I can spot something man-made a mile away. And once I started climbing that mountain, I started understanding these petroglyphs, and I was seeing the petroglyphs in the sky. And that's what this is all about. Petroglyphs in the sky. Is it spaceships in the sky? No. Is it alien creatures? Aliens, green men in the sky? No, it's petroglyphs, dude. Petroglyphs in the sky. Why? Why is it petroglyphs? Because we see the petroglyphs carved on the rocks, the prehistoric photographs, and now we're seeing the exact same stuff, the exact same things as what the Native Americans saw in their time, in their day, over 1,000 years ago, and continuing on. This has been going on for a long time. We're going to talk about this later. And I went down this road thinking, here to help us I'm looking at the evidence that I dug up, the facts that I discovered, the proven evidence, and I completely 180'd on this stuff. I went from here to help us to, oh my God. Oh my God, dude, what the hell? What is going on? You know, this made me look at the earth completely different. Made me look at the whole picture. Everything. What we've been, led to believe, the history of facts that has been covered up, and I understand why they covered this up and don't want you to talk about this. Because Charles Holberg, he told people about these beings. He knew about these spirits of the earth and the sky. He knew about the tombs on South Mountain. He knew about the Mayans that were here. He knew about the giants that walked the earth here in Phoenix, Arizona. He knew all this stuff, and he told people this. This was not a secret in his day, 1930s. He made little flyers. You can find this flyer on my website. All my YouTube videos, on the description below is links to my website. And there you can see one of the tombs that I discovered out there. I discovered like 4 tombs. But you can see one of the tunes on my website there. You can see Charles Holberg. The first thing he says in his little flyer there, the city of Cibola, the lost city of Cibola, the lost city of gold. The Spanish conquistadors were here looking for the gold because they thought that Phoenix was part of the 7 cities of gold. I believe it was. Holberg believes it was. There's evidence to suggest that it was. That Phoenix, Arizona was one of the lost cities of gold. There's the evidence. When you look at the hard facts, when you look at the evidence here, Holberg believed it, and he was a respected official, a respected man on the west coast of the United States. He believed that. He wrote in his journals about that. After he passed away, his son wrote a book about his dad, talking about the gold tombs, talking about the Mayans. All that stuff was public knowledge until Holberg died, and then they erased all that from history. They took all his information and put it in a folder in the Phoenix Library for 80 years, away from the public eye, until little old me coming around in 2005, getting my nose into South Mountain's history, discovered that folder that has been buried deep in the archives of the library. Not only that, but hiking on the mountain and finding the tombs, finding the altars, finding the petroglyphs, seeing these things in the sky. And so that's when it comes down to like the Anunnaki, in which we're going to talk about today. When the artist draws wings, I think that it's an interpretation of flight. Did the Anunnaki really have wings? In my opinion, I don't think so. Can I prove that? No. Did they quite possibly? Maybe they did. We don't have any evidence of any of this. All we can go by is what these tablets depict. And if an artist is trying to say, look, this person can fly, and just looking at the person, you can't tell that he flies, but if I put wings on the person, then we know that he flies. If I make this half serpent and half man, then we know that he's shape-shifting into a person or into a snake. If I make it half lion, half man, then we know that he's morphing. He's anthropomorphing into an animal or into another creature, into an anthropomorph, right? That's just my opinion. That's where, the scriptures and the tablets and all these sacred scrolls and things that I've been studying throughout the many years is leading me to believe. Okay. You know, these things that we're going to get into tonight, this lost text talks about these monsters. Okay? And what we are seeing here, what I'm pulling in right now, is what I have filmed in the skies of Phoenix. And the carvings out there on South Mountain, I mean, it's understanding it, like seeing it, right? They're like demonic creatures. They're like monsters, if you will. And that's what this text that we're going to talk about, that I'm going to present to you tonight, talks about. It talks about how some of these Anunnakis, there was actually a war here. There was a war going on between this entity race. And some of them made monsters so they could fight this other entity. These other Anunnaki. I mean, look at the India text. Look at the India. And when it comes to the Viamatis. The Viamatis, the stories and legends over there about the Viamatis say that there was a big war and mankind was their trophies. And obviously the good ones won because we're not enslaved anymore. We're going to go into that later in the show. And they had these magical staff weapons that was able to shoot at these monsters in the sky. And also the legends say that they buried these special weapons around the earth in certain places because they know that one day they're going to have to return and reuse these special weapons to fight off these monsters in the sky once again. I mean, in my past shows, I show these petroglyphs on South Mountain where this four-armed stick figure species of beings have these magical staff weapons, and they're shooting at a flying serpent in the sky. Remember that? Remember that? Remember that petroglyph? It's on my website. Remember that petroglyph? There's even one shooting at a dinosaur. And the archaeologists pulled up a dinosaur bones in Mesa on the east side of South Mountain about 18 years ago. The construction workers were making a new apartment, and they had to stop and call in the archaeologists because they found dinosaur bones. And lo and behold, facing that way on South Mountain is a carving of this supernatural being with 4 arms with his staff shooting at a dinosaur. And now the archaeologists are pulling up bones from that dinosaur in the same spot where this petroglyph is depicting that it was. Are these spaceships? Are these crafts? No. These are living beings, living entities. These are scary stuff. And we might possibly have an explanation on what they really are. We're going to talk about that tonight. Now, this is just, some say that this is just, fairy tales. This is just, interpretations. The things we're going to go over with tonight has been around for 200 years. And it's going to talk about how there was a war here on Earth. It's going to explain on what possibly these things that we see in the skies today. So let's get into it. Okay, so this right here, this guy here he is Enki. He is one of the Anunnaki, a Sumerian god of water, knowledge, mischief, and crafts and creation. The exact meaning of this word is unclear, but common translation is Lord of the Earth. Lord of the Earth. It is believed the Anunnaki was here 400,000 years ago. 445,000 years ago. That's a very long time. Some scholars believe the word Anunnaki means the ones who came down from heaven. Anunnaki are the ones who came down from heaven. Now, when we read Genesis 6, doesn't it say that these beings were cast down out of heaven? These beings were thrown here to earth? Anunnaki, the ones who came down from heaven? These beings needed gold to harness energy from certain places around the earth as they feeded on these places where energy was gathered, such as fault lines or ley lines here on earth. Some stories say that they needed help to collect this gold, so they employed genetic engineering to fashion primitive workers known as Homo sapiens. Mankind. Now, this would explain on some of the biblical texts when it says, "And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, let him have domain over the fish and the sea." Okay, so who is us? Who is our? Let's make man in God in our image. Does it say let's make man in my image? Why not? Why wouldn't that be? Yes, there's a lot of things left out of the Bible. And this stuff here from the Anunnaki, from Ezekiel's text, from the Babylonian text, is part of these biblical tales that have been left out. Explains what these UFOs in the skies that we see in the skies today. All this information is what we are seeing in the skies. It explains everything. And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Let him have domain over the fish of the sea. Now, here's where it gets interesting. A Sumerian god named Enlil, he was said to be king of all the gods. And he set out to eliminate humanity because those people were disturbing his rest. He successfully sent drought, famine, plague, and floods to wipe out humanity. But Enki, towards his half-brother, by teaching him how to counter these threats. He asked the population to abandon all worship of all these gods except one. So before then, there were many gods, and the tribes of humans that lived here worshipped many gods. Look at Egypt. Look how many gods they worshipped, right? And look at Akhenaten. Akhenaten believed in one God. And he moved all his tribal people away out of Egypt to a certain spot to worship only one God. Now look at the Hopis legend when it says we have gone through many worlds, many changes, many different worlds. Now, is this because of Eli's destruction of mankind? Trying to make them quiet? And this last time using a flood to wipe out man because they were too noisy? The giants that were walking around at that time were noisy. The people were noisy. So he created this flood to wipe everybody out. But Inkai taught his half-brother, look, teach these people to only worship one God. As a matter of fact, some scholars and some of these Sumerian texts actually say that Inkai was the one who saved mankind and told a certain person to make a boat and to save, some of these animals because the flood was coming. So a lot of these ancient texts talk about Inkai saving human race by telling this man to build a boat. Now, the biblical text says that it was Noah. God told Noah to build a boat because the floods were coming, to wipe out the giants, to wipe out all the evil that was going on. And so God told Noah to build this boat, to build the ark. The Sumerian text pretty much says the same thing, told a little different. They say God is Inga, and they say that this man wasn't named Noah, but another name. I can't think of it now. And in these Sumerian texts, it wasn't just one boat. There was many boats that were constructed to save mankind. One of them was so big it was round. It was a round boat. So it just wasn't Noah who saved the animals and people, but also there was other tribes that were saved also by building boats, and they were told by a divine wisdom. A lot of this information was left out of the Bible, and this stuff we can find, 7,000 years ago, written on these tablets, talk about the same flood myth, the same flood story. Okay, so this Sumerian tablet is describing Tiamat. Now, in these texts that we're about to explore, there's going to be a lot of ancient names that you probably haven't heard before. So I want to talk about the main people in these texts that you're about to read and about to explore. And I want to explain on who some of these Anunnaki were on these names. So when you hear it in the text, you understand who these people are. Now this one is called Tiamat. Now, she was the goddess of sea, mating with Abuzu, the god of the groundwater. To produce younger gods, she is a symbol of chaos. She is referred as the woman, described as the glistening one, the sparkling one. Images of sea serpent or dragon is associated with her. And you can see in the tablet there the serpent, the great serpent, the great snake. This Anunnaki is called Marduk. Now, in the text that I'm about to present to you, the scholar writes Marduk Chorus. He just doesn't call him Marduk, but Marduk Chorus, which means demon, which means devil. Satan. Is this Satan? Is Marduk known to us as Satan or the devil? Is Marduk also known as Satan? Now, there's another name in here, and it's important, and we're going to talk about him real quick. His name is Sakkake. Sakkake. S-A-K-K-A-K. This spirit is the awakener, as well as an opener of portholes or doors. His name means governor, priest of the triangle. Now, this Anunnaki opens up portholes, opens up doorways, opens up vortexes, spirals carved on the rocks of certain mountains. Now, without further ado, I present the hidden texts of the Anunnaki.
Is left of the old faith that existed before Babylon was built, and it was originally in their tongue, but I have put it into the golden speech of my country, so that you may understand it. I came upon this text in my early wanderings in the region of the 7 fabled cities of which are no more, and it tells of the war between the gods that took place in a time beyond the memory of man, and the horrors and ugliness that the priest will encounter in his rites and herein described, and their reasons, and their natures, and essences. And the number of the lines is sacred, and the word are sacred, and are most potent charms against the evil ones. And surely, some magicians of the country do write them on parchment or clay, or on pottery, or in the air, that they might be efficacious thereby, and that the gods will remember the words of the covenant. I copied these words down in my tongue, and kept them faithfully these many years, and my own copy will go with me to the place where I will go when my spirit is torn from the body. But heed these words well, and remember, for remembering is the most important and most potent magic, being the remembrance of things past and the remembrance of things to come, which is the same memory. For it hath caused madness in men and in beasts. The text. 1. The Magan text.
Hearken and remember. In the name of Anu, remember. In the name of Enlil, remember. In the name of Enki, remember. When on high the heavens have not been named, the earth have not Tiamat been named, and naught existed but the seas of Absu, the Ancient One, and Mumu Tiamat, the Ancient One, who bore them all, their waters as one water. At this time, before the elder gods had been brought forth, uncalled by name, their destinies unknown and undetermined, then it was that the gods were formed within the Ancient Ones. Lumu and Lamu were brought forth and called by name, and for ages they grew in age and bearing. Anshar and Kishar, who beget Nu Demud, our master Enki, who has no rival among the gods. Remember, the elder ones came together. They disturbed Tiamat, the Ancient One, as they surged back and forth. Yea, they troubled the belly of Tiamat by their rebellion in the abode of heaven. Absu could not lessen their clamor. Tiamat was speechless at their ways. Their doings were loathsome unto the Ancient Ones. Absu rose up to slay the elder gods by stealth. With magic charm and spell, Absu fought, but was slain by the sorcery of the elder gods, and it was their first victory. His body was laid in an empty space, in a crevice of the heavens. Hid, he was laid, but his blood cried out to the abode of heaven. Tiamat, enraged, filled with an evil motion, said, "Let us make monsters, that they may go out and do battle against these sons of iniquity, the murderous offspring who have destroyed a god." Uber rose, she who fashioneth all things, and possessor of magic like unto our master. She added matchless weapons to the arsenals of the Ancient Ones. She bore monster serpents, sharp of tooth, long of fang. She filled their bodies with venom for blood. Roaring dragons she has clothed with terror, has crowned them with halos, making them as gods, so that he who beholds them shall perish, and that with their bodies reared up, none might turn them back. She summoned the viper, the dragon, and the winged bull, the great lion, the mad god, and the scorpion man, mighty rabid demons, feathered serpents, the horseman, bearing weapons that spare none. Fearless in battle, charmed with the spells of ancient sorcery, with all 11 of this kind, she brought forth, with King Gu as leader of the minions. Remember, Enki, our master, fearing defeat, summoned his son Marduk, summoned his son, the son of magic, told him the secret name, the secret number, the secret shape, whereby he might do battle with the ancient horde and be victorious. Marduk Kyrios, brightest star among the stars, strongest god among the gods, son of magic and the sword, child of wisdom and the word, knower of the secret name, knower of the secret number, knower of the secret shape. He armed himself with the disc of power. In chariots of fire he went forth. With a shouting voice he called the spell. With a blazing flame he filled his body. Dragons, vipers, all fell down. Lions, horsemen, all were slain. The mighty creatures of Uber were slain. The spells, the charms, the sorcery were broken. Naught but Tiamat remained. The great serpent, the enormous worm, the snake with iron teeth, the snake with sharpened claw, the snake with eyes of death. She lunged at Marduk with a roar, with a curse. She lunged. Marduk struck with the disc of power, blinded Tiamat's eyes of death. The monster heaved and raised its back, struck forth in all directions, spitting ancient words of power, screamed the ancient incantations. Marduk struck again and blew an evil wind into her body, which filled the raging wicked serpent. Marduk shot between her jaws the charmed arrow of Enki's magic. Marduk struck again and severed the head of Tiamat from its body. And all was silent. Remember, Marduk, victor, took the tablets of destiny, unbidden, hung them around his neck. Acclaimed of the elder gods was he. First among the elder ones was he. He split the sundered Tiamat in twain, and fashioned the heavens and the earth with a gate to keep the ancient ones without, with a gate whose key is hid forever, save to the sons of Marduk, save to the followers of our master Enki. First in magic among the gods. From the blood of Kingu he fashioned man. He constructed watchtowers for the elder gods, fixing their astral bodies as constellations, that they may watch the gate of Apsu. The gate of Tiamat they watch, the gate of Kingu they oversee. The gate whose guardian is Eox Sakak, they bind. All the elder powers resist. The force of ancient artistry, the magic spell of the oldest ones, the incantation of the primal power, the mountain Kur, the serpent god, the mountain Mashu, that of magic, the dead Cthulhu, dead but dreaming, Tiamat, dead but dreaming, Apsu Kingu, dead but dreaming. And shall their generation come again? We are the lost ones, from a time before time, from a land beyond the stars, from the age when Anu walked the earth, in company of bright angels. We have survived the first war between the powers of the gods, and have seen the wrath of the ancient ones, dark angels vent upon the earth. We are from a race beyond the wanderers of night. We have survived the age when Apsu ruled the earth, and the power destroyed our generations. We have survived on tops of mountains, and beneath the feet of mountains, and have spoken with the scorpions in allegiance, and we were betrayed. And Tiamat has promised us never more to attack, with water and with wind. But the gods are forgetful. Beneath the seas of Nar Maturu, beneath the seas of the earth, Nar Maturu, beneath the world lays sleeping, the god of anger, dead but dreaming, the god of Cthulhu, dead but dreaming, the lord of Kur, calm but thunderous, the one-eyed sword, cold but burning. He who awakens him calls the ancient vengeance of the elder ones, the seven glorious gods of the seven glorious cities, upon himself and upon the world, and old vengeance. Know that our years are the years of war, and our days are measured as battles, and every hour is a life lost to the outside. Those from without have builded up carnal houses to nourish the fiends of Tiamat, and the blood of the weakest here is libation unto Tiamat, queen of the ghouls, wreaker of pain. And to invoke her, the red water of life need be spilt on a stone, the stone struck with a sword that hath slain 11 men. Sacrifices to Ubur, so that the strike ringeth out, and call Tiamat from her slumber, from her sleep in the caverns of the earth. And none may dare entreat further, for to invoke death is to utter the final prayer.
2. of the generations of the Ancient Ones.
Utuk Sul, the account of the generations of the Ancient Ones here rendered, of the generations of the Ancient Ones here remembered. Cold and rain that erode all things, they are the evil spirits, in the creation of a new spawned, plague gods, Pazuzu, and the beloved sons of Ang, the offspring of Ninkigal, rending in pieces on high, bringing destruction below. They are children of the underworld, loudly roaring on high, gibbering loathsomely below. They are the bitter venom of the gods, the great storms directed from heaven. Those are they, the owl, messenger of Uki, Lord of Death. Those they are. They are the children born of earth that in the creation of Anu were spawned. The highest walls, the thickest walls, the strongest walls, like a flood they pass from house to house. They ravage. No door can shut them out, no bolt can turn them back. Through the door like snakes they slide, through the bolts like winds they blow, pulling the wife from the embrace of the husband, snatching the child from the loins of man, banishing the man from his home, his land. They are the burning pain that presseth itself on the back of man. They are ghouls, the spirit of the harlot that hath died in the streets, the spirit of the woman that hath died in childbirth, the spirit of the woman that hath dies weeping with a babe at the breast, the spirit of an evil man, one that haunteth the streets, or one that haunteth the bed. They are seven, seven are they. Those seven were born in the mountains of Mashu, called magic. They dwell within the caverns of the earth, amid the desolate places of the earth they live, amid the places, between the places, unknown in heaven and in earth. They are arrayed in terror. Among the elder gods there is no knowledge of them. They have no name, not in heaven nor on earth. They ride over the mountain of sunset, and on the mountain of dawn they cry. Through the caverns of the earth they creep, amid the desolate places of the earth they lie. Nowhere are they known, not in heaven, nor in the earth are they discovered, for their place is outside our place, and between the angles of the earth they lie in wait, crouching for the sacrifice. They are the children of the underworld, fallen like rain from the sky, issuing like mist from the earth. Doors do not stop them, bolts do not stop them. They glide in at the doors like serpents. They enter by the windows like the wind. Idpa they are, entering by the head. Namtar they are, entering by the heart. Utuk they are, entering by the brow. Alal they are, entering by the chest. Gigim they are, seizing the bowels. Talal they are, grasping the hand. Uruku they are, giant larvae, feeding on the blood. They are seven, seven are they. They seize all the towers from to Nippur. Yet knows them not, yet Nippur does not know them. They have brought down the mighty, of all the mighty cities of man, yet man knows them not. Yes, the cities do not know them. They have struck down the forests of the east, and have flooded the lands of the west, yet the east knows them not, yet the west does not know them. They are a hand grasping at the neck, yet the neck does not know them, and man knows them not. Their words are unwrit, their numbers are unknown. Their shapes are all shapes. Their habitations, the desolate places where their rites are performed. Their habitations, the haunts of man where a sacrifice has been offered. Their habitations, the lands here and cities here, and the lands between the lands and the cities between the cities, in spaces no man has ever walked. In Kurnud, the country from whence no traveler returns. At Ekirbat, in the altar of the temple of the dead, and at Gi Umuna, at their mother's breast, at the foundations of chaos, in the Aurelia of Numu Tiamat, and at the gates of Iaxakak, spirit of the air, remember. Spirit of the earth, remember.
3. Of the forgotten generations of man.
And was not man created from the blood of Kingu, commander of the hordes of the ancient ones? Does not man possess in his spirit the seeds of rebellion against the elder gods? And the blood of man is the blood of vengeance, and the blood of man is the spirit of vengeance, and the power of man is the power of the ancient ones, and this is the covenant. For lo, the elder gods possess the sign by which the powers of the ancient ones are turned back, but man possesses the sign, and the number, and the shape to summon the blood of his parents, and this is the covenant. Created by the elder gods, from the blood of the ancient ones, man is the key by which the gate, if Iaxakak, may be flung wide, by which the ancient ones seek their vengeance upon the face of the earth against the offspring of Marduk. For what is new came from that which is old, and what is old shall replace that which is new. And once again the ancient ones shall rule upon the face of the earth, and this too is the covenant.
4. Of the sleep of Ishtar.
Yet Ishtar, queen of heaven, bright light of nights, mistress of the gods, set her mind in that direction. From above she set her mind, to below she set her mind. From the heavens she set forth, to the abyss, out of the gates of the living to enter the gates of death, out of the lands we know into the lands we know not, to the land of no return, to the land of Queen Erishkigal, Ishtar, queen of heavens, she set her mind. Ishtar, daughter of sin, she set forth, to the black earth, the land of Kuta, she set forth, to the house of no return, she set her foot, upon the road whence none return, she set her foot, to the cave, forever unlit, where bowls of clay are heaped upon the altar, where bowls of dust are the food of residents clothed only in wings, to Apsu Ishtar set forth, where sleeps the dread Kutalu. Ishtar set forth. The watcher, Ningazida, stood fast, and Ishtar spoke unto him. Ningazida, serpent of the deep, Ningazida, horned serpent of the deep, Ningazida, plumed serpent of the deep, open the door that I may enter. Ningazida, spirit of the deep, watcher of the gate, remember. In the name of our Father before the flight, Enki, Lord and Master of Magicians, open the door that I may enter. Open, lest I attack the door, lest I break apart its bars, lest I attack the barrier, lest I take its walls by force. Open the door, open wide the gate, lest I cause the dead to rise. I will raise up the dead, I will cause the dead to rise and devour the living. Open the door, lest I cause the dead to outnumber the living. Ningazita horned serpent approached the lady Ereshkigal and said, "Behold, Ishtar, thy sister, queen among the gods, stands before the gate. Daughter of Sin, mistress of Enki, she waits." And Ereshkigal was pale with fear. The dark waters stirred. "Go, watcher of the gate, go, Ningazita, watcher of the gate. Open the door to Ishtar and treat her as it is written in the ancient covenant." And Ningazita loosened the bolt from the hatch, and darkness fell upon Ishtar. The dark waters rose and carried the goddess of light to the realms of the night, and the serpent spoke. "Enter, Queen of Heaven, of the great above, that Ker may rejoice, that Kuda may give praise, that Kutu may smile. Enter, that Cthulhu may be pleased at thy presence." And Ishtar entered. And there are 7 gates and 7 decrees. At the first gate, Ningazita removed the crown, the great crown of her head he took away, and Ishtar asked, "Why, serpent, hast thou removed my first jewel?" And the serpent answered, "Thus is the covenant of old set down before time. The rules of the Lady of Kutu. Enter the first gate." And the second gate, Ningazita removed the wand of lapis lazuli he took away, and Ishtar asked, "Why, Neti, hast thou removed my second jewel?" And Neti answered, "Thus it is the covenant of old set down before time. The decrees of the Lady of Kutu. Enter the second gate." At the third gate, Ningazita removed the jewels around her neck he took away, and Ishtar asked, "Why, gatekeeper, hast thou removed my third jewel?" And the gatekeeper answered, "Thus it is the covenant of old set down before time. The decrees of the Lady of Kutu. Enter the third gate." At the fourth gate, Ningazita removed the jewels on her breast he took away, and Ishtar asked, "Why, guardian of the outer, hast thou removed my fourth jewel?" And the guardian answered, "Thus it is the covenant of old set down before time. The rules of the Lady Kutu. Enter the fourth gate." At the fifth gate, Ningazita removed the jewels, the belt of jewels around her hips he took away, and Ishtar asked, "Why, watcher of the forbidden entrance, hast thou removed my fifth jewel?" And the watcher answered, "Thus it is the covenant of old, set down before time. The rules of the Lady Kutu. Enter the fifth gate." At the sixth gate, Ningazita removed the jewels around her wrists, and the jewels around her ankles he took away. And Ishtar asked, "Why, Ninkigal, hast thou removed my sixth jewel?" And Ninkigal answered, "Thus it is the ancient covenant set down before time. The decrees of Lady Kutu. Enter the sixth gate." At the seventh gate, Ningazita removed the jeweled robes of Ishtar he took away. Ishtar, without protection, without safety. Ishtar, without talisman or amulet, asked, "Why, messenger of the ancient ones, hast thou removed my seventh jewel?" And the messenger of the ancient ones replied, "Thus it is the covenant of old, set down before time. The rules of the Lady of Kutu. Enter the seventh gate, and behold the netherworld." Ishtar had descended to the land of Ker, to the depths of Kuta. She went down, having lost her 7 talismans imprison her, bind her in darkness, chain her in the sea below the seas, release against her the 7 Anunnaki, release against her the 60 demons, against her eyes, the demons of the eyes, against her sides, the demons of the sides, against her heart, the demons of the heart, against her feet, the demons of the feet, against her head, the demons of the head, against her entire body, the demons, the cur. And the demons tore at her from every side, and the Anunnaki, dread judges, 7 lords of the underworld, drew around her, faceless gods of Absu. They stared, fixed her with the eye of death, with the glance of death. They killed her, and hung her like a corpse from a stake. The 60 demons tearing her limbs from her sides, her eyes from her head, her ears from her skull. Ereshkigal rejoiced. Blind Azek Thoth rejoiced. Iaxakak rejoiced. Ishnagarab rejoiced. Cthulhu rejoiced. The Maskin gave praise to the Queen of Death. The Gigim give praise to Ereshkigal, Queen of Death. And the Elder Ones were rent with fear. Our Father Enki, Lord of Magic, receiving word by Ninshabur, Ishtar's servant Ninshabur. He hears of Ishtar's sleep in the house of death. He hears now Ganzir has been opened. How the face of Abyss opened wide its mouth and swallowed the Queen of Heaven, Queen of the rising of the sun. And Enki summoned forth clay, and Enki summoned forth wind, and from the clay and from the wind, Anki fashioned 2 elementals. He fashioned the Kuruguru, spirit of the earth. He fashioned the Kalaturu, spirit of the seas. To the Kuruguru, he gave the food of life. To the Kalaturu, he gave the water of life, and to these images he spoke aloud. Arise, Kalaturu, spirit of the seas. Arise, and set thy feet to that gate Ganzir, to the gate of the underworld, the land of no return. Set thine eyes, the 7 gates shall open for thee. No spell shall keep thee out, for my number is upon you. Take the bag of the food of life, take the bag of the water of life, and Ereshkigal shall not raise her arm against you. Ereshkigal shall have no power over you. Find the corpse of Inanna, find the corpse of Ishtar, our queen, and sprinkle the food of life 60 times, and sprinkle the water of life 60 times. 60 times the food of life and the water of life sprinkle upon her body, and truly Ishtar will arise. With giant wings and scales like serpents, the 2 elementals flew to that gate, invisible. Ningasita saw them not, invisible. They passed the 7 watchers with haste. They entered the palace of death, and they beheld several terrible sights. The demons of all the abyss lay there, dead but dreaming. They clung to the walls of the house of death, faceless and terrible. The Anunnaki stared out, blind and mad as it thought, reared up. The eye on the throne opened. The dark waters stirred. The gates of lapis lazuli glistened in the darkness. Unseen monsters spawned at the dawn of ages, spawned in the battle of Marduk and Tiamat, spawned in Hubur, with the sign of Hubur, led by King Gu. With haste they fled, through the palace of death, stopping only at the corpse of Ishtar, the beautiful queen, mistress beloved Enki lay hung and bleeding from 1,000 fatal wounds. Ereshkigal, sensing their presence, cried out. Kugaru, armed with fire, looked upon the Queen of Corpses with the ray of fire. Kalaturu, armed with flame, looked upon the Queen of the Graves, and with the rays of flame. And Ereshkigal, mighty in Kuta, turned her face. Upon the corpse of Inanna, 60 times they sprinkled the water of life of Enki. Upon the corpse of Ishtar, 60 times they sprinkled the food of life of Enki. Upon the corpse, hung from a stake, they directed the spirit of life. Inanna arose. The dark waters trembled and roiled, as if Thoth screamed upon his throne. Kutahu lurched forth from his sleep. Ishnagaran fled the palace of death. Iaxakak trembled in fear and hate. The Anunnaki fled their thrones. The eye upon the throne took flight. Ereshkigal roared and summoned Namtar, the magician Namrar she called, but not for pursuit, but for protection. Inanna ascended from the underworld. With the winged elementals, she fled the gates of Ganzir and Nati. She fled, and verily, the dead fled ahead of her. When through the first gate they fled, Ishtar took back her jewel robes. When through the second gate they fled, Ishtar took back her jewel bracelets. When through the third gate they fled, Ishtar took back her jewel belt. When through the fourth gate they fled, Ishtar took back her jewel necklace. When through the fifth gate they fled, Ishtar took back her belt of jewels. When through the sixth gate they fled, Ishtar took back her wand of lapis lazuli. When through the seventh gate they fled, Ishtar took back her jeweled crown. And the demons rose, and the spirits, the dead, and went with her out of the gates, looking neither right nor left, walking in front and behind. They went with Ishtar from the gate of Ganzir. Out of the netherworld they accompanied her. And Ereshkigal, scorned queen of the abyss wherein all are drowned, pronounced a curse, solemn and powerful against the queen of the rising sun, and Namtar gave it form. When the lover of Ishtar, beloved of the queen of heaven, goes down before me, goes through the gate of Ganzir to the house of death, when with him the wailing people come, the weeping woman and the wailing man, when Dumuzi is slain and buried, may the dead rise and smell the incense.
5.
Stoop not down, therefore, unto the darkly shining world, where the Apsu lies in dark waters, and Kuthalu sleeps and dreams. Stoop not down, therefore, for an abyss lies beneath the world, reached by a descending ladder, that hath 7 steps, reached by a descending pathway that hath 7 gates, and therein is established the throne of an evil and fatal force. For from the cavities of the world leaps forth the evil demon, the evil god, the evil genius, the evil ensnarer, the evil phantom, the evil devil, the evil larvae, showing no true signs unto mortal man, and the dead will rise and smell the incense.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and share this information. Let's get this information to the public. Let's get the information on what the Phoenix Lights really is. Find me on YouTube channel, the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. Find me on Facebook, and make sure you message me with any questions that you may have, and send me your UFO videos. I'd love to see them. Thank you guys again for watching the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show. I'm your host, Jeff Woolwine. Bye-bye.